the YouTube thumbnail in the same place that everybody else is. You're going to ask yourself, am I starting in Photoshop or am I starting in Illustrator? If you are starting in Photoshop, you're going to be looking at this first flow chart. If you are starting in Illustrator, you would look at this flow chart. Photoshop has an extra step if you are adding text to your design. Some of the designs don't have text, some of them do. So that's where you need to think about which one you're starting in and then what your next steps will be. So here we have the YouTube thumbnail. If you're starting in Photoshop, you go ahead and start here. If you're only working in Illustrator, then you would open up your YouTube thumbnail for Illustrator. If you do add text to your Photoshop template for your YouTube thumbnail, you will eventually need the YouTube thumbnail for Illustrator so that you can add the text there. But let's start in the Photoshop file as if you're starting here. And you'll notice I have my mood board open because I have typefaces I can copy, and I've got my account name, I've got my color schemes, and some of my images. All right, so the YouTube thumbnail is going to cover the entire artboard, all the white that you see. Maybe the first thing that you do is you decide to add a background. And to make sure you're using some of those colors that you wanted, actually you don't have to go to this extent. You don't have to make a rectangle. You can go to your layers, unlock your background, and grab your paint bucket and click. Just like you colored the background to your mood board. I got this color from my mood board. I used my eye for eyedropper, grabbed it, it went to my swatches, and then I used my paint bucket to bring it into here. So the paint bucket is located underneath your gradient tool. So hold that down, grab your paint bucket. So there's your background. Now let's think about how we want to build the images on top. So as a YouTube thumbnail, you might want to grab a person or something big and large to attract people's attention. It could be a car, it could be a person. You don't have to have a background. You can build this just with images. It's completely up to you. And I like the idea of maybe putting this in the background. So let's go ahead with our layers and drop that below her. And I'm gonna flip this image. There we go. I don't know. Let's see what I can do. Yes, I'm creating movement. She is going diagonal. I'm looking at the trees, but I like the balance with a little bit of the sky. And then I'm looking at this, realizing, oh no, I forgot to take out part of her hand. So I'm gonna grab her layer, make a layer mask, take my paintbrush, and with a medium-sized brush, I'm just going to go ahead and take out that portion. And it looks nice because the trees are in the water going through the hole between her hat and her hand. And that looks good. There's no other places. Okay. She's got an interesting curve on her hat. I'm wondering if it would be better if I flipped her, because if you notice, this is flat right here. So I'm going to put her on this side, and then I'm going to take my picture and I'm going to flip it again. And make it smaller so I can get a little bit more of that ocean again. There we go. Now I'm going to add some text to this, but I'm going to make sure I do that in Illustrator, so I'm just focused right now on the image, making sure it goes all the way to the edge and that it fills in the space. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and save this as a Photoshop file. So I'm my desktop in my folder. And I'm going to add my name to the front of the file so that it stays as my name and the template name. And then I'm going to export it as a PNG. And because I'm adding text to this, I'm going to need to open up the Illustrator template for the YouTube thumbnail, which I made for you. And I'm going to place it. So I think one of the hardest things about working with computers like this is that there's just so much to understand about the files and which file to be in. Taking this all the way to the red. Okay, and then in my layers, I'm going to lock my image and I'm going to start with my text. So I'm going to grab my text tool. The text tool needs to stay inside this inside line like it did for the bookmark. So make sure you do that. And then under properties, I'm going to come down here and I'm going to click on my cloud with a little check. And I'm going to find my font. If you forgot what font you used, you can go back to that mood board and double click on it and it will pop up in your character panel and you'll be able to remember what it is. Okay. You should be using fonts that are being used by everybody in your group so that you all have a consistent font size. Not size, but style. Alright, so I'm going to make this bigger. And you can hand type in the number too if you want to, until you find the right size. And then I'm also going to make it a different color. I'm not happy with the way the black goes on to the background. Alright, now I'm going to do something just because I'm being creative right now, but I'm going to make a copy of this layer. I gotta get out of here first. I'm going to make a copy. So I'm going to duplicate this layer and I'm actually going to put it on top of my text and I'm going, oh, I can't do that as easily as I did. You know what? Let's not do that. That's for a Photoshop file. So that would be if we were clip masking into here. So let's keep this a lot more simpler. Okay, so I've got my fun in the sun. I like the way it looks, so I'm gonna go ahead and keep it that way. If I wanted to add a drop shadow or something, I could do that. I can show you how to do it inside of Illustrator. You would select your font and then you have to come down and grab the adjustments here or the appearances and then you can come in and actually stylize. Where is it? Let's see. I always forget where it is. Okay, let's go ahead and just click on the font. There we go. And you can add a drop shadow if you wanted to. You could change the color also. Okay, let's clean this up. It's looking a little bit messy right now. There we go. So we are officially done with this. I'm going to save this as an Illustrator file to my computer with my name on it. And then I'm also going to export it as a ping. And that is going to be the ping that you're going to use for your mockup. All right, we are done with the YouTube thumbnail.